In this video, I will rank all the historical TV shows of 2023 that I have seen. It has now become my custom to make these ranking videos at the beginning of each year about all the historical TV shows and movies that I saw in the previous year. For the ranking, I will use the same 5 tiers I usually use in these videos. In 2023, I saw 21 historical TV shows altogether, so let's see what these are. The first one is Marie Antoinette, a French-British TV series created by BBC and Canal+. It is about the ill-fated Queen of France, Marie Antoinette, and this first season covers her life between her arrival in France at age 14 and the birth of her first son. I already made a review video about this show back in the day, so here I will just say that I liked this first season very much, and I am very much looking forward to season 2, which was announced recently, thanks to the success of season 1. So I think I will put this in maybe not the highest tier, but just below that. Then I watched the miniseries A Spy Among Friends, which is a British espionage thriller series based on the true story of 2 British spies who were close friends. While the 2 leading actors were very good in this series, I must say that the plot wasn't too exciting. I can barely remember it now. I don't know the book it was adapted from, but I think the series could have been better. The next one is not a new production, it is the second season of Vikings Valhalla, which is a sequel series to the highly successful Vikings, and it is supposed to be about some of the most famous Vikings in history, Leif Erikson, Harald Hardrada, Freydis, and others. While I thought season 1 was decent, I liked season 2 less. I just think that barely anything happened in this season. I watched it back in January and now I remember almost nothing of it. Actually, I remember season 1 much better, which is, I think, very telling. In this season, all Leif and Harald did was make a road movie along a river, and all that happened in England was a single crime investigation, and that's all, and I can't remember the other locations. So I think I should put this show quite low. Perhaps not a waste of time, but just above that. I also watched 2 Italian series last year. One of them was the Netflix show The Law According to Lidia Poet, which is loosely based on the true story of the first female lawyer of Italy. The series is about the start of her career and the obstacles she constantly faces while trying to practice law as a woman in Italy. There are also cases she solves in each episode, which are kinda simple and predictable. I think her personal story and her heartbreaking struggle against the rules are much better parts of the series. I am kinda conflicted about whether to put this in very good or decent, but I think it is not great enough for very good. I usually include docudramas too in these ranking videos. For example, last year I talked about Rise of Empires Ottoman, and this year I watched African Queens on Netflix, which came out with not 1 but 2 seasons in 2023, and since those 2 parts are quite different and separate, I will rank them separately. Part 1 is about Ndinga, the warrior queen of Ndongo and Matamba. First of all, I have to say that I was very happy when I first heard about this series. I think it was high time to make something about her, and also I think that it was a great and fresh concept to make a drama series about African queens in general. I thought it would be awesome to see new faces and not another Tudor thing. So then I watched the first part, the Ndinga series, and there were things I liked about it. I appreciate that they tried to create something new to introduce a queen who is not very well known but deserves to be more famous. The dramatic parts were not flawless though, so I think I will put this in the decent tier. But then The second part of this docudrama series came out about Cleopatra, and I was especially sad that this second part basically cannibalized the first part, because I think the first part had not gained so much attention, sadly, when it came out. But then the next part, the Cleopatra part, was quickly announced, and then all hell broke loose. So now I think with this infamous second part, no one will watch the first part, which is very sad because that part is actually decent, and also it is about a lesser known queen who should be more famous. That is what this series should have been about, to introduce lesser known but great queens of Africa. And then what did Netflix do? They made the second part about Cleopatra of all people, who already has at least 100 movies and TV shows about her. Not to mention that this Cleopatra part made absolutely no sense at all. It was full of historical inaccuracies, which is a very bad thing in a documentary. And the dramatic parts were also painfully bad, with bad writing and acting. So this was a waste of time. Then, during the spring, I watched a very good Spanish language series, The Cry of the Butterflies, on Disney+. It is about the Dominican Mirabal sisters, who were key figures in the resistance against the dictatorship of Rafael Leonidas Trujillo in the 1950s. I loved the story of the sisters. These women deserve to get every attention. The only weak point of the series is that they added the fictional storyline of a Spanish girl, and that was not that interesting, to me at least. So I am putting this in not the highest category, but just below that. I have almost forgotten that I watched the Netflix show Transatlantic during the spring too. Yeah, you can guess what a big impression that series left on me. It is about the Emergency Rescue Committee that operated in Marseille and helped thousands of refugees to escape from the Nazis. It could have been a very intriguing story, but the series focused more on the love drama going on between the characters, which I didn't care a lot about. So this goes not higher than the could have been better tier. I also watched a much better World War II miniseries this year, A Small Light, created by National Geographic. It is about the secretary Miep Gies, who helped her employer Otto Frank and his family go into hiding in Amsterdam during World War II. I enjoyed this series very much. It was very interesting to see Anne Frank's well-known story from a new, unknown point of view, and I think the series is exceptional in terms of writing and acting especially. I will put this in the very good tier. Simultaneously with A Small Light, I watched The White House Plumbers on HBO, which is an American satirical political drama that tells the true story of how Nixon's own political saboteurs and the Watergate masterminds, Howard Hunt and Gordon Liddy, accidentally toppled the presidency they were trying to protect. To be perfectly honest, the satirical tone and the supposed humor of this miniseries annoyed me quite often while watching the series. I think it is just not for me. It has a great cast and interesting story, but still, I found the series quite tedious and boring and, several times quite annoying. I recognize its merits, so I will not put it in the lowest tier, but just above that. Then, airing also in May 2023, we have the third and final season of The Great, also from HBO. This is a satirical comedy drama series very loosely based on Catherine the Great of Russia. I ranked its first and second seasons in previous videos, and I was quite enthusiastic about season 1. I was still satisfied with, but a bit less intrigued by season 2. And now with season 3, this tendency of regression continues. Now with the show coming to an end, I think the creators just completely bottled something that was originally a great and promising concept. Catherine should have been a much more interesting character, but instead she just became a lovesick fool in this season instead of the great empress she was supposed to become. It will also go into the second lowest category, and I'm even being a bit generous here. Then let's see something that didn't disappoint me. On the contrary, it was the most positive surprise among historical dramas this year. Taj Divided by Blood. It is an Indian TV series set in the Mughal Empire during the reign of Emperor Akbar, and it is about him and his sons. It is a truly great historical Game of Thrones with a very intriguing plot, complex characters, and spectacular sets and effects and designs. I just loved it. Not one, but 2 seasons of the show premiered in 2023, and I think season 1 had some flaws, but season 2, I absolutely loved it, and I also have a new favorite queen now, thanks to season 2. If I only ranked the first season, I would put this in very good, but with this amazing second season, I will put this in the highest tier. The next one is also a non-English language series. It is the Polish The Crown of the Kings, The Jagiellonians, which is, I don't know if it is actually the 4th season of The Crown of the Kings or a sequel to that. I loved the 3rd season of that show, and I was a bit sad when I saw that there was a complete cast change for season 4, but I can understand why. Season 4 is about the sole rule of Ladislav Jagiello in Poland and in Lithuania. I did not like this season as much as season 3, but I think it is better than season 1 and season 2, so I will put this in the decent tier. Then, since I finally started to watch Kuruluş Osman, the sequel of the highly successful Turkish series Diriliş Ertuğrul, I will rank its 4th season here, since that season aired mainly in 2023 and ended in June. Season 5 has started already, sometimes towards the end of 2023, but I will rank season 4 here, since that season has already ended. So, this TV series is about Osman, founder of the Ottoman Empire. In previous videos, ranking other Turkish series, I talked about how I find every single Turkish historical series made nowadays very similar, with the same storylines, the same characters, the same cliches and the same tropes. This is true about Osman as well, but it does have some saving grace. Season 2 was the best, I think, closely followed by season 3. This season 4 is a mixed bag for me. Now the show really starts to get boring and repetitive, but this season was still better than season 1. I think I should put this in decent, but it is very low decent. Still remaining on international waters, the next one was also big and positive surprise to me. It is the South African TV series Shaka Ilembe. It is about the great Zulu king, the legendary Shaka, and it is also like a great historical Game of Thrones. It has a very intriguing, exciting plot, complex, multi-layered characters, drama, action, everything you could need. I know that there was a quite famous and acclaimed miniseries about Shaka made in the 1980s. I have not seen that one, so I can't compare the two, but I think this series is very good and I hope there will be a second season. I also watched the second season of Domina in the summer, and I also made a review video about it back then, so I will just sum up quickly what I thought about it. This is a British-Italian TV series set in ancient Rome. It is about Livia Drusilla, the wife of the first Roman Emperor Augustus. 2 years ago, I ranked season 1 quite high, in the second highest tier, I think, and I liked this second season too. There are even things that I thought were better in this new season. I hope there will be a third season as well. So I will put this two in the very good category. Another Spanish language series that I watched last year, also on Disney Plus, was Pancho Villa, the Centaur of the North, a Mexican TV show about Pancho Villa, a Mexican outlaw and revolutionary leader. I went into watching this series without knowing much about this Mexican hero and the history of Mexico around this time. And it seemed it would be a very interesting story, but somehow the series was unable to catch my attention and I found it quite dull. So I will put this here too, in the could have been better category. Oh god, there are already quite a lot of shows here. At the end of the summer, a new King Arthur adaptation came out called The Winter King. I was very hyped up about this show, firstly because I love King Arthur adaptations, and secondly because it was based on a novel series by Bernard Cornwell, and one of my favorite historical shows of all time, The Last Kingdom, was also based on the books of Bernard Cornwell, on another novel series of his. And probably because I was very hyped up, I got utterly disappointed then. It looks extremely low budget, the characters are boring, the story is boring too, most of the time. Maybe it is not so bad that it belongs in the waste of time category, but it is only slightly better than that. Then, after a disappointment, let's see another very positive surprise. It is Thunderkert, or Fairy Garden in English, which is about the Bathory dynasty of Hungary and Transylvania, focusing mostly on the tumultuous reign of Gabriel Bathory as the Prince of Transylvania. The series also portrays the lives of the other Bathory family members, including Elizabeth Bathory, the infamous Blood Countess, who is finally done justice in this series. This is also a very good historical Game of Thrones story. The best parts of the series are the politics and the plots and the intrigues. The romantic parts are less good, so the end product is about very good, I think, and I really hope they will continue the series. The other Italian series I watched last year was The Lions of Sicily on Disney Plus, which is about the rise of the influential Florio family in Sicily in the 19th century. The series is mostly about the life of entrepreneur and politician Vincenzo Florio, and it also portrays the big changes and revolutions Sicily and Italy went through in this period. I liked this series very much, and it was another very positive surprise to me, so I will put this even higher than the other Italian series. It will go into very good. Recently, I finished watching the last season of The Crown, which is one of my favorite historical TV shows ever. It is about Queen Elizabeth II, and this season 6, which is the last season of the show, depicts her reign in the 90s and in the early 2000s. I loved the first 3 seasons of this show, then I liked season 4 and 5 a bit less. Now season 6 premiered in 2 parts and I have quite different opinions about the 2 parts. To me, part 1 was about on the same level as season 4 or 5, while part 2 reminded me again what I loved so much about The Crown back when I was watching the earlier seasons. I loved part 2 of season 6, and I am kinda sad that this is the end of the series. So, with these different 2 parts, I think I should put season 6 altogether in the very good tier. And then, let's see the last series in this video, which is Sisi Season 3. This is a German series about Empress Elizabeth of Austria, and Season 3 depicts her life in the early 1870s, I think. It is so hard to tell because the show is a historical mess, especially chronology-wise. Now, I have talked about this show a lot. I made analysis and comparison videos about this and the Empress, and I ranted about it in previous ranking videos. I hated its disastrous first season. Then I kinda praised season 2 for improving a bit, but I still ranked it in the second lowest tier. And now I don't quite know what to do with season 3. To me personally, this was certainly the season that caught my attention the most so far, so I am kinda inclined to put it in the decent category, but if I try to look at it objectively, it is not good enough to make it into that tier. So I think it still goes into could have been better. Okay, so this is it. Oh, this doesn't look so good. There are so many shows in the second lowest tier. I really thought it would look better. Well, maybe next year. What do you think of these shows? Have you seen them? How high would you rank them? Let me know in the comments.